All rise. Case number AD/447/2018. The State versus Mr. Benedict Campbell.
Appearance, please.
My Lord, McCoy Jefferson Jr., SAN, VSP, VKK, and SFVBK for the state.
Christabel Sanders, Miss. I represent the accused person.
Sarah Barnes, Miss. I also represent the accused person.
My Lord, the matter is slated for final arguments, and we are ready to proceed, subject to the convenience of the court.
You may proceed.
My Lord, the prosecution witness, Miss Jones, gave evidence before this honorable court, and I quote, "That night, I heard a loud scream that shook the very foundations of my house. I came out, and behold, I saw a man coming out of the house of the deceased, Mr. Smith. His hands were covered in blood. Blood! He was holding a machete on the one hand and a gun on the other. He hurried to his car and drove off speedily." End of quote.
End of quote, Ke. You didn't even tell me that. You didn't even
Order, court, order.
to kill us. Counsel, please advise your clients that any more interruption in my court, she will be held in contempt.
My Lord, she later identified the accused here as the murderer, an allegation which the accused did not deny during cross-examination. Also, the accused here had no response to my questions, which included, where were you on the 18th day of November 2017 at about 1 a.m.? Is it true that you were in the house of the deceased, Mr. Smith, at number 5 Soki Street? You were wearing a black shirt and a black short, a black cap, a black shoe, carrying a black bag, driving a black car that had black glass windows. My Lord, with these evidences and with the testimony of the witness, I submit to this honorable court that Mr. Benedict is guilty of murder.
Objection, my Lord.
Sustained. Counsel, you know better than to conclude for this court. Will the counsel please address this court with their final arguments and be reminded that trial has already been concluded?
As the court pleases. My Lord, the Constitution of Romans, section 3, subsection 23 says, the wages, the penalty, the reward for sin is death. Therefore, Mr. Benedict, who is guilty of murder, should be sentenced to death by hanging.
Objection, my lord. It is true that the Constitution states that the wages of sin is death, but that section of the Constitution no longer applies to my client, Mr. Benedict Campbell, who is now born again.
Objection, my Lord.
Objection overruled. Miss Sandals, you may continue.
Thank you, my lord. The Constitution of Romans section 5, subsection 6 states that at the right time, Christ died for my client here. He no longer has to die.
Objection, my Lord. My Lord, the Constitution says the soul that sinneth shall die. Let this soul be put to death.
Objection, my Lord. When Christ died, my client was in Christ, and so he died. When Christ was buried, my client was also in Christ, and so he was buried. When Christ was raised from the dead, my client also was raised from the dead. And now Christ has ascended, my client also has ascended into heaven. And now, my Lord, Christ is seated at the seat of power and authority, and he is also in Christ, so he is seated at the seat of power and authority. All this you can see for yourselves in the Constitution of Ephesians section 2 subsection 5 and 6.
Objection, my Lord. My Lord, before he gets comfortable at that seat of power and authority, he should come down here and answer for the crime he committed against humanity. My Lord, the Constitution says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and life for for life. This man took a life. Therefore, his life should be taken. My Lord, remember that our God is a God of judgment. Judgment against Sodom and Gomorrah, against Korah, Dathan and Abiram, against Hananiah and Sapphira. Our God is a consuming fire.
The Constitution, 2 Corinthians section 5, subsection 17 states that if any man, even my client, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. A new creation. All things are passed away. So he's no longer buying to his past.
My Lord, what is all this? I say, what is all this? My Lord, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Is the old section of the Constitution no longer valid? Are we no longer to obey the old section of the Constitution?
Miss Barnes, what's your response to that?
Thank you, my Lord. I quote from the Constitution of Ephesians section 2 subsection 14 and 15. For Christ is our peace, and he has made both Jews and Gentiles one, and has broken down the middle wall of partition, and has abolished, destroyed, rendered null and void in his flesh the laws of commandments of thou shalt not do this and thou shalt not do that, contained in ordinances and laws.
Meaning the laws and the commandments of the old constitution should no longer be relevant because it's no longer valid, having been replaced by the commandments of the new law.
Commandment of the new law? What is this? I say, what is all this? What commandment can possibly replace our precious old constitution handed to us by Moses himself on the Mount of God? This is preposterous. I say this is outrageous. I cannot sit here and allow these small girls to insult my personality. Can you imagine? It's 27 years old. I can't see back.
Counsel, will you please comport yourself in this court? I have carefully considered the articulate arguments canvassed by the learned counsel for the state, as well as the defense counsel. I have also meditated on the Constitution, and I'm ready to deliver my judgment. As to the fate of the accused, Mr. Benedict Campbell, if truly the Constitution makes us to understand that Christ came into the world to die for him, paying the price for his sins, I see no reason the accused should pay for it. For a man cannot be tried more than once for the same offense. Having served his punishment, this will be tantamount to double jeopardy and against the rule of justice, equity, and good conscience. Furthermore, the Constitution also makes us to understand that as many as have received Christ has received the power to become the sons of God. For this Constitution of 1 John section 5 subsection 12 says, he that has the Son has the very life that makes God God. I hereby decree that the accused, Mr. Benedict Campbell, is declared not guilty. You are hereby discharged and acquitted of all allegations levied against you. You are now a free man. This case is dismissed. I rise.